Today is the World Economic Forum on Africa currently taking place in Cape Town. Our SABC News colleague Nzinga Qunta is in Cape Town and she's standing by. Nzinga, good afternoon to you. Talk to us about what's been happening since this morning.
A very good afternoon to you. We're still coming to you live from the World Economic Forum meeting, which is taking place in Cape Town. Throughout the day, we've been bringing you interviews with newsmakers and leaders from the world of business, from civil society and political society. I'm now joined by Botswana's President Mokgweetsi Masisi. Thanks so much for your time on SABC News this afternoon. Let's start with giving our viewers an overview of what's taking place in Botswana at the moment. We've spoken off-air about there are some allegations of political instability there.
Thank you very much, and it's a delight to be here this afternoon. Let me begin by making it clear from the onset, there is no, I repeat, there is no political instability in Botswana. What's happening in Botswana is we are going for a general election, as is the normal course of things when the 5 years of an existing government's term comes to an end. The election date has been pronounced. This pronouncement came following the dissolution of Parliament, as is provided for in the Constitution. The election date's been announced, and the regular processes kick in, which are managed by the Independent Electoral Commission. So the parties are vying for these elections by campaigning. And the only thing that is rather unique in this election is that the immediate past president, who was in the ruling party, has left the ruling party and has joined the opposition forces and is campaigning against the current ruling party leadership. That's the only interesting thing. But other than that, the policies of the parties have been spelled out, have remained largely consistent, except with the pronouncements of the manifestos, and the fact that there are institutions and structure systems to yield an election, an outcome. That's what's stable. The Constitution is stable. The rule of law, stable. The separation of the organs of the state, stable. So we'll have an election, we'll have an outcome that is not disturbed.
Okay. Where there is instability in parts of the country at the moment is South Africa. There have been reports of Afrophobia or xenophobia that are taking place. I just wanted your comment on that situation before we come back to the World Economic Forum.
You know, what's going on right now is most unfortunate, regrettable, and really appalling. Appalling and retrogressive. We are neighbors to South Africa. We played our part in supporting South Africa get liberated. We've watched in admiration as you grew your institutions, as you put them in place, as you drew up your constitution. Laudable effort. But it would seem, given what's going on now, those who are engaged in the actions that they are, who are not parties or did not subscribe to the ideals as were pronounced. And that's what needs leadership to nip in the bud.
Okay, let's go to Botswana's economy now. And you coming to the World Economic Forum, you're a country that's shown consistent economic growth. It played in large part through your minerals and the way that you distribute the wealth of the country. What lessons are you going to be sharing with other African countries here around that?
Good governance, rule of law, stability, economic stability, political stability. Absolute imperatives. And, you know, consistent with that is a consistent reinvestment from the revenue from minerals in other sectors of the economy to sustain this growth and hopefully to diversify it. That's a major lesson.
The A meeting under at the World Economic Forum concerns the fourth industrial revolution and shared futures. I know that Botswana's economic growth is in a large part played by mining and construction sectors. Are you looking towards technology to make sure that you broaden the industries that are contributing towards your GDP and towards your country's growth?
Invariably, Botswana is not an island. And because we have pronounced very clearly, as I did as president, that our commitment is to increasingly transform our economy from being solely resource-based to a knowledge-based one, it goes without saying that our commitment in the mining space and in other sectors would increasingly be relying and looking towards technology for solutions to challenges of efficiency, to technology, to challenges of innovative ways of doing things, to technology, to challenges of competitiveness. And that's exactly what's going on in Botswana. If you look at the mining that we engage in now, there's a lot of intelligent machines, smart mining, computer applications, ICT utilization, and the profile of skills, the compendium of skills needed to do those jobs is very different from when we started.
The one thing that Botswana perhaps isn't getting right is income inequality. There's a large gap there, and I wanted to find out what you're doing about that, and in particular with a focus on women and rural women.
Well, when you do a lot of diamond mining, or mining generally, mining tends to employ few people, and diamond mines tend to employ even fewer people. When that happens, because it's a high-value product, they tend to get paid fairly well. And when your levels of unemployment are quite high, the gaps of their own remain high. So what we try and do in our reinvestment is to broaden employment by diversifying the economy. So we are reinvesting in the agricultural space. We are reinvesting in the value chain growth space. We are reinvesting in the industrial space. We are reinvesting in the infrastructure space. So it is necessary that we put our money to where our mouths are so that we can reduce income inequality. And as for women and girls, we provide, no discrimination whatsoever in the free education that we give between boys and girls. And we provide some measure of discrimination in the high-tech, supported by individuals and private sector, for access to them and give preferential margins to females.
Like many sub-Saharan African countries, one of your challenges is high youth unemployment in particular. What ideas are you looking to take from the World Economic Forum meetings, and perhaps what countries are you looking to meet with to focus on this issue, if at all?
Well, youth unemployment can be seen both as a problem and a challenge which may yield opportunities. I would rather the latter because our youth are relatively well educated. Our youth are many. More than 60% of Botswana is made up of young people. More than 60%. That's maybe a challenge in the short term, but it's an opportunity. They have a long life ahead of them. They've got the baseline. So when you attract investors, you tell the investors, I've got all these young people. They are trainable. They are adjustable. They are retoolable. They are reskillable. And that's what we provide a budget to do and a commitment to do. So when I come to the World Economic Forum and I meet potential investors, I tell them this. And I ask them, let's come to the party. The government will put in money to help you retool these. It's one of the only countries where you have a training levy that will cover up to 200% of your training from the private sector. We have the money to do it. So it's really a question of tipping them over and asking them to come and settle. We would tell them, quite frankly, we're going to work on the other disadvantages we have of being landlocked. But in every respect, in the services sector, there's no reason why we should not be leading. So the training that we provide for our young people, girls and boys should be of such a standard and optimize on technology to such an extent that our efficiency is the highest. That's what's going to differentiate and make us compete.
Thanks so much for your time on SABC News. Botswana's President Mokgweetsi Masisi joining me for a sit-down here at the World Economic Forum. We're going to continue through the day and the night for the rest of the World Economic Forum meetings, giving you updates on what's happening and giving you the voices of leaders from the political, civil society and business world. But for now, it's back to you in studio in Auckland Park.